What we gonna do today?
Hanging out with Mike and Scott.
Hanging out. Yeah. I don't know if I want to go on camera today.
Yeah,
I've been through a storm. I don't look good.
I'm feeling a little rough too. I was just telling Scott.
I thought you said yard. Or I'm sorry, Minnesota.
What?
I thought you said it bypassed your place.
Oh, just Minneapolis. It was amazing. It came from the west, and it was northwest. It was northwest of us, and it was southwest of us. And then when it hit the Twin Cities, it parted like the Red Sea and went around us, because I had the toast in my hands, holding the toast out toward the sky, and I deflected it by manifesting the toast.
Praise Father, Son, and Holy Ghost.
Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. And praise the toast. So I was pretty impressed. But we got, we probably got maybe 30, 40 mile an hour gusts, 50 miles an hour, because it flipped my chairs over and blew my cushions around. But south of us, they got like 100 mile an hour straight line winds. And my son texted me he's out in South Dakota at a convention, and he said, it is not a good sign that the premier tornado chaser in the world is up in Minnesota chasing tornadoes right now, because they had all these Ryan Hall Y'all was doing a 13-hour stream on it, and they were really concerned. And I don't think we got any tornadoes, but boy, there's some weird shit that happened, like dust blowing around.
You know what Ryan said? He said, I like events like this where it wasn't as bad as we thought.
Yeah.
They prepared for the worst. They warned everybody, and that pays off too. Like you were saying, you were getting ready just in case, and a lot of other folks were paying attention, and that's a good thing. It's a good thing.
Yeah, we've got this those glass block bricks is the only window in our laundry room, and there's cement blocks. And it's the one part of the basement that's the lower level that's covered in ground. So, and then we have washers and dryers sitting there that, can hold up a little bit of building. And I had sheepskins and blankets, and my neighbor gave us 2 whistles so we could blow the whistles so they could find us in the rubble. And we were so prepared last night that's why the storm didn't hit us. Because when you prepare that much, the storm says, I can't kill them.
The best money I ever spent was on a snow thrower. We had a storm coming, and I'm just like, oh heck no, And we did get the storm, and I used the snow thrower. Yeah. I haven't used it since though. So
yep,
it's a nice little shrine hanging in the garage there. It hasn't had to been used since. So.
Yeah, God stayed off my lawn. It was pretty good. So
we had a beautiful day yesterday. I was out working by the pond, and I posted a video if you want to see it. The latest pond video.
It was so warm here yesterday, and it was like the sky was yellow, and it was like it's 72 with the south wind blowing. That was just really warm. Mm-hmm. And then the wind came from the north, the west, and the south all at once, and it all converged on this area, and it really kicked up a ruckus. It was pretty
now cool. Today we're getting your leftovers. The wind chimes and the bushes I can see are all blowing around.
We have God equals a square root of 4, square root of -1, and bond so far that I see.
Hello.
I don't see nobody. What do we got on your channel? We got people in your channel? Oh,
it says 5 people are watching. Hello.
Okay.
Hello out there.
Miracle toast. Oh no. Okay. Yeah, there are 5 people watching. It's good to watch. I in my description I linked Joe, Kentucky Atheist, did a stream on creationism last night. He was just going over some very, very simple points about creationism. And one of the first ones was this bit about...
There's your hellos, Mike. There's people saying howdy, howdy. They're out there.
Howdy, howdy. Maynard Saves. We got Sandals. We have Robert Madewell. Robert Madewell. I'm sorry. And
Zerovac.
I like
Zerovac is here.
I don't know if we're saying that right or not. And I don't
That's
know where you got that name, but it sounds demonic to me. Does that sound demonic or not? Zerovac. He's a demon.
It's a good name.
They are a demon. And tilting windmills.
Everything's a demon.
I know. Storms are demons and all of that's demons. Yeah. And that's kind of some of the stuff I want to talk about. But first thing that Joe said was, let me see if I can.
Tilting windmills. Hello.
Get up here.
Robert, hello. Sandals, hello. Lots of people joining in, Mike.
Yeah, good. Okay, so on Joe's video, here's Joe's video. He was talking about the first thing that they come up with is, well, you can't see it. You know, if you can't see it, it's not science. And that is such bullshit at the bottom of it. Now, my example is, okay, number one, if we can't see it with our own eyes, it's not science. But if I can find a few people, 3 out of 8 billion, that claim they have seen it, like the Loch Ness Monster, and they agree with my narrative, then it is science. You know, then we can rely on it. If I can find 3 guys out there somewhere in the world, one in Africa, one in Japan, and one in Kentucky, that all say they saw the Loch Ness Monster, that I'm gonna believe that. But I'm not going to believe this witchy science where we can't see things. And so I said, if we do a science experiment, say we mix metallic sodium, which is a really wonderful waxy silvery substance. If you cut it with a knife, it's just shiny silvery, and you can cut it with a knife and it's a metal. So it's like being able to cut iron with a plastic knife. But as soon as you cut it, it starts to get white from the oxygen in the air because it is so reactive. And if you put it in chlorine gas, you will end up with salt, right? So you mix sodium and chlorine gas to produce salt. Do we see the atoms combining? No, we do not. Never. We infer the atoms combining, right? So chemistry is not science according to them. So that would rule it out. Same reasons, same shit going on. And if you okay, if we can find 3 people that tell me that they deeply experienced the sodium persona weeping salty tears when it was exposed to the harsh chlorine demon spirit, then it is science. Why don't we teach that in the textbooks, atheist? Now consider how many different things we do with sodium and chlorine and all the other elements before we do the inference. And that's what they miss all the time. They want to hand wave that away and say that, no, we just did that one experiment. And then we concluded that sodium combines with chlorine, right? So many things are done to determine what is an element as opposed to a compound. Number one, we figured out that chlorine and sodium are elements and not 2 elements combined. And it took hundreds and thousands of experiments to figure that out, right? And the way things are arranged by atomic weight in the periodic table, we figured that out over a couple of centuries. And the way they line up with similar properties, sodium and potassium have similar properties, right? Chlorine and iodine have similar properties. The electron experiments and all of the thousands of other things that all lock into the chemistry narrative. Now do this for salty tears and the demon narrative, and let me count the ways that you have represented your demon idea or your miracle idea of creation compared to the number of cross references we've done in science. So that's the whole deal. It's about cross referencing information and learning about things. Right? Am I right? Am I right?
Well, I always bring up too, it's, you know, do you have to go to the sun and put a thermometer in it to know how hot it is?
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. I mean, yeah, at some point, yeah, there is, you know, inference and stuff, because some things, yeah, you just can't do, like going back in time and finding out what color dinosaurs were or something. So, you know, some of these things we probably will never know, right?
Let's see. Okay, we got P Mars here. Okay, good. We finally got a believer in you. We now know God exists. How do you know that? Have you seen God? Is it science? You know, I have not seen God. I don't think anybody has. I'd like to know how he knows that. What else we got here from Mr. P?
And Mike really, really, really tried to commune with God, and
I did.
We've done a couple Saturday night at the Atheist where we were learning to manifest with toasters and stuff, and we really tried. Brainless tried to, think about a song to come on the radio, and it didn't work. So
yeah,
we are trying these things, legitimately putting forth the effort. So
and there's
it doesn't show up. It doesn't show up, right?
There's at least one old guy that I know that blasted his brains apart with mushrooms trying to find God and didn't find him. So, with the heroic dose. So, he did have some out-of-body experiences, though, which was really interesting to have those experiences and understand what people are talking about when they talk about these out-of-body experiences. It's cool to experience one. It isn't as eidetic, like when you look at a tree, it is eidetic. It's like in detail. You can walk around it. It stays put. It doesn't flit around. But with out of body experiences, they're sort of fleeting experiences, and you can't really nail them down, and they go away as soon as you try to look at them, and stuff like that. So that's the difference between a hallucination and something you actually really see. And that's how we get around in the world. We know what's real. If we didn't, we'd be dead. We'd be dead shortly. So, because of demons,
I was having a little discussion with my son. He got a nick on his hand at work, and didn't think nothing of it. You know what I mean? We get scratches all the time. Well, next day his hand swelled up, and then he started getting red marks traveling up into his arm, and it's like, oh no, you got to go get some antibiotics. And sure enough, as soon as they dosed him up, it started clearing up right away. But just without our skin protecting us, we wouldn't last very long. I mean, it's amazing how much the skin protects us. As soon as you break the skin, it opens up to a whole world of nasties. And one, he was using the tape gun, taping a box or whatever. And just that little scratch and then the wrong germ on there. And I had a customer back in the day too that did flooring, right? Did it his whole life, had 1 million splinters, right? Yeah. One day he got the wrong splinter. He almost lost his arm. He came in a sling. It's like, what happened to you, So I got a splinter. It's like, what? He's like, yeah, it went right up his arm. It almost got up into his, and once it gets into your body, you can be in really bad shape. But he said, right. Yeah, it went right up his arm, and they were this close to getting the knife out and taking his arm off, to stop it. They were that close. So, amazing.
Had one of those little tiny hair ingrown hair pimples on his knee, and he scratched it. And 1 week later, he's in the hospital. His leg is swollen to about 5 times the normal size, and he almost lost his leg, almost lost his life over it. That's why every time I get a scratch of any kind, I just drench it in alcohol for about 3-4 hours. So,
well, he has his stuff because he's my son's diabetic, so he's got his stuff with him. And I told him, next time grab one of your alcohol swabs, clean it up right away. And I said, might not be a bad idea to keep a tube of Neosporin with you, because that's the first thing I did. I don't know if you can still see it, but I scratched my arm all up on a branch when I was working out in the yard, and that's the first thing I did was wash it up, and I put a big glob of Neosporin and rubbed it all over on it.
Yeah,
just in case.
First, then Neosporin, because Neosporin is not as good. Anyway, it's amazing how much demons
clean it
hate
up. Yeah, clean it up. Yeah.
You ever notice how much demons hate antibiotics and alcohol? I mean, because you can get rid of the demon right away if you just hit some antibiotics or rinse with alcohol. It's absolutely cool. Hey, we got Math Pig, we got Sandals.
Math Pig streaking through. They cover their eyes.
11. Yep. Streaking. Oh no. Is he streaking?
We got, Math Pig, Tilting Windmill, Phantom. AR is here. Good to see AR. Tori's here. These are all on my side. And yeah, Zerovac.
My mute button. Cool. Got a bunch of people. Whose channel am I on over here? I'm on, I don't know. Oh, Captain Desk. That guy.
And you've got Sandals, God equals the square root. You got Maynard. You got PMARS. You got Robert.
We're splitting the people.
And Bond.
So, let's see if I can. I wonder if I should pull that up. I suppose I should play just a small section of 49. Okay, let me see. Let me share my screen. Hey, Scott. You quiet, Scott. Pretty quiet, Scott.
And the thumbnail for this video with Answers in Atheism on Toast is a new emoji on my channel. So just so you know, Mike and Scott are immortalized on Toast in an emoji.
That toast is making me hungry. I'm going to have to go get some butter and
I know
the toaster oven and have a few slabs.
I can't play Mousy right now, Loki. Tell Loki I can't play Mousy right now. Oh. Okay, so this is interesting.
Let's look at it in a vacuum for a moment. And the thing I want to point out, and this is true, absent the Bible, you have zero evidence or reason to claim the Christian God and the Christian creationism story. And if you want to propose that we can take the claims of others as evidence at face value, then welcome to Islam. Welcome to Hinduism. What are you doing? Let's.
Yep. Anyway, that was that's about all you need to know, right? I mean, really.
Well, they often set up the debate that it's either creationism or evolution, and it's like you're leaving out almost every religion that has a creation myth. They set it up that it's only the Christian creation myth, but many others have creation myths too.
And you're leaving out a whole lot of other possibilities too. And so what I like to do is, okay, if you're going to argue with them about evolution, and they hate this, they will resist this to no end. You tell them, okay, fine, I will grant that there is a God, and that God, about 4 billion years ago or 3.5 billion years ago, dumped a whole bunch of prokaryotes into the ocean, and even 700 to 1 billion years ago, he dumped a whole bunch of eukaryotic cells into the ocean, right? Just single cells into the ocean. He backed up a dump truck or a starship and just filled the ocean with eukaryotes. Okay, let's start there. And now we're talking about evolution. And we're talking about nothing else. We're not talking about the Big Bang. We're not talking about chemical evolution. We're not talking about any of this garbage that you want to keep darting back and forth. Like, they love taking the goalposts from how a horse evolved, and they take the goalposts and they run all the way back 4 billion years ago to how life came from rocks, and then they take the goalposts and they run back 13 billion years ago and say the universe came from nothing, blah blah blah. And it's like, no, if you want to talk about evolution, you just put a stick in the mud right here to where we have eukaryotic cells, period, single-celled eukaryotic animals, and they form multicellular animals, and then they evolve. Now, if they want to talk about evolution, that is what they have to talk about. If they want to talk about human evolution, they have to talk about primates. That's where we put our stick in the mud. You don't keep darting around and bringing up all this and they do that. It's really interesting. They do that to basically create a almost like a a DA does, right? To create doubt, or a defense attorney does. You just say one thing and you create a little bit of doubt in a person's mind. Then you quickly say another thing before they can think about that. And you add up all these little doubtlets. And all these little doubtlets will come to confusion, over what is the truth. And that's what they like to do with science. They come up with these little one-off things.
Tilting Windmill loves the toast emoji. Dropping it in the chat there.
Good. Yep. Fake new Jesus toast. Oh, the pond makes me jealous too. On my hobby farm, I created a little tiny pond, and the garter snakes just loved it. I had like 6 of them living in there, and then I've had a frog in there. I don't know why they didn't eat the frog, but they didn't. They were good to the frog. They all got along.
I've seen the frog. I didn't see it yesterday, but I've seen it almost every other day I've been out there over the last week. So frog is hanging out, and my fish tore up the plants and foamed up the pond. So I think they already spawned. So there might be little babies swimming around. A lot of them, they become food. That's how it is. But I do have 3-4 generations of fish now in my pond. So I don't buy fish. People try to give me fish. I'm like, no. I have plenty, and they're almost to a stable environment, right? Where I might lose one or here or there. Really, I haven't lost too many, knock on wood. But yeah, and then I get a couple more that were a couple babies in there, but otherwise it's balancing the population out pretty good right now. So.
Yeah. So Scott is showing off the emojis.
Love the emojis.
Yeah, I got to get signed up for this stuff. Yeah, evolution denialism is really high in America, and I wonder why. Well, it's because of this constant narrative, and also, there's so many factors that go into this stuff. But overall, it's okay. There's a group of people that have an idea, and they kind of cluster together, and this is called a cult. And they have this one idea that the rest of the world doesn't have, and that makes them very special. If you're, if you're the little group of people in the world that know the truth of the matter, that makes you special. And in the United States, that little tiny group has somehow gotten to be 50% of us. And these same people had exactly the same idea when we had a pandemic. They had the same idea about climate change. They had the same idea about electing a bozo for president who's destroying our economy. They all had the same ideas, and it's really amazing. And they all clustered together, and that's where we're at now. We got about half of us who, America is supposed to be this great and powerful technological gem of a country. And we have the highest amount of anti-evolution, anti-science believers in the world. What in the fuck is going on with America? And I think part of it is
somebody was just talking about it. It's just I think Nick was talking about it on his show. There's just this team mentality, right? It doesn't matter what it is. You want your team to win, right? So like they said, we own the libs. Doesn't matter that we lost our insurance. Right. Our team won, right? Yeah.
Yeah, we own the libs. Yeah. Yeah. And they're just happy about that. It's like the more they can hurt some immigrant, the more they can fuck his life up and basically imagine that they've done this wonderful thing to a criminal or something, the happier they are with their lives. And I think part of the reason that America is suffering like this is that we are privileged. These aren't the real poor people that are doing this. I don't think these are the people that are kind of in the middle. Maybe lower middle class, upper, I don't know. But people that, that have a little too much time on their hands, and they're still fucking miserable in their lives. I mean, even though we have all this stuff. I mean, I've got all this stuff, man. I've got two 55-inch monitors on one computer. I have three 55-inch monitors on another computer. I have TVs. I have iPhones. I have iPad. I mean, we have a lot of stuff. And yet there are times in the middle of the winter when I look around and say, life, what's it all about? And so you get all emo. And then if something happens, like if my family suddenly has a crisis, all of a sudden, I mean, I'm upset about the crisis, but I don't have that life. What's it all about? I'm actively doing things, right? So I think if we had it a little bit tougher, we'd think a little more clearly. I don't know. It's just an idea. What do you think, Scott? Quiet, Scott.
Yeah, I think you're right.
I mean, we have too much time on our hands. We have too much shit, and then we can start to imagine enemies. Like if anything at all goes wrong in our lives, and one of the things that go wrong in our lives is we have a lot of angst and anxiety. It's a natural human condition to feel fear and anxiety. And then if somebody can come along on YouTube or on this fucking social media monster that we've created, and if they can coalesce that anxiety into one focal point, like the immigrants, they're ruining America, all of a sudden we've got an enemy to chase after. And then there's a little fucking.
That's why we gotta have more signs like this.
Yeah, no God's allowed. But in our little brains,
nice and peaceful.
We suddenly think we have the answer. This enemy is going to basically focus us, and we're going to get rid of this enemy, and then it's all going to be peaches and cream after that, and it's going to fix our anxiety. And no, it ain't. Nothing's going to fix your anxiety. Human condition.
Yeah, that's a myth, Gilles. Plenty of people have video and photographs of their heron statues with a real heron standing right there eating their fish. So
what's that? I didn't catch that.
There's a myth that herons only like to be by themselves. So if you put a heron statue by your pond, which is a big bird that eats fish, it's like a stork. They got long legs. Anyway, the myth is if you put a statue up, that another one won't come. But no, it doesn't work. I've seen plenty of photos and videos of a real one standing right by the fake one eating somebody's fish. So,
yeah,
you either have to have what people do is they'll run some strings around like fishing lines, so you don't really see it, but it interferes, or you use bird netting. And the folks with really nice ponds that have a lot of money in koi fish and all that, they have. How you have your retractable pool covers on your swimming pools? They'll have a setup like that with netting. And then so when they go out, they push the button and it opens up, right? You can see everything. And then when you go in the house, you can't watch your expensive fish. You push the button and the screening comes across.
Cool.
Otherwise, I've seen some of those koi sell for millions of dollars. So just thousands of dollars is a lot of money to lose for a fish to have lunch, or for a bird to have fish lunch.
Yeah,
I just have goldfish, but same thing though. Yeah, you can get wiped out really quick. I used to be friends with the pet shop owner up on the corner until he retired, and he had a lady customer, had a pond, came in and said, "Oh, I was so excited." Like you say, you have you're attracting wildlife, right? I saw, it might have been a heron or a similar bird, whatever she had. Oh boy, I'm attracting wildlife, right? I got this bird in my pond, right? She was just so happy until she went out there and every fish was gone. And yeah, so, and snakes too, people have issues with. some of the snakes take fish, and a couple people have had oddball ones like otters or maybe raccoons or something like that. But they don't bother them too much. It's the herons that's a dirty word for pond owners. And the best thing to do is put up bird netting. That's what I do. They come down, they look at it, they look at it like they know what it is. They cock their head and then they fly away. And that's the best thing you can do. Or just let them eat your fish and trash your pond because they knock everything all over. And
I'm playing with the cat again. So
es a gato.
Yes. You got to play with the cat. So anyway, Sandals, I think too much time in your hands off, and a good thing. You kind of look, you can think about how to do things better. But what that requires is emotional maturity. And so the other lacking thing is emotional maturity. When, I'm an alcoholic and a drug addict. And the one thing that became clear 18 years ago when I sobered up is that I had the emotional maturity of a 9-year-old or a 13-year-old when I started drinking. And I couldn't tolerate any sort of angst or anxiety or depression or any bad feelings at all without running out and doing something about it. And a drug addict will go out and take drugs. One of these flat earth nutters or anti-vax nutters will go out and find a cause, right? It's the same thing. It's kind of an addiction to solve a problem that you aren't mature enough to handle. So all during the day, we're all going to run into points where we feel some distress of some sort, you know? And if you live in Minnesota in the winter, you feel it around 4 PM for about 3 hours, you know, from the seasonal depression. And if you aren't emotionally mature enough to handle it, you're not going to sit there and think about how to be a better person in your life. You're going to sit there and think about, oh, what's wrong? You know, who can I blame for this shit? And God, this social media monster that we have created in this, Loki, you got kind of quiet down, okay? This social media monster we've created in this country provides quick and convenient sources for all of that. And the creationists are capitalizing on that. The right-wing nutters are capitalizing on that. They're just playing on people's fears, you know, trying to get people to vote for them out of fear. I don't know what the left does about that. I mean, do we do a good job of focusing the blame on something? I don't think the left does a good job at that.
We don't do a good job of science communication.
I think Neil
deGrasse Tyson was talking about it, that there's not enough people like him and Bill Nye and, you know, other folks out there communicating with regular people what these things actually are and
right.
Explaining it better. Hello, Pixie.
Yeah.
How you doing? Good to see you. So yeah, I think we need. I think the left or whoever, the better communication. Maybe give them some commercial time for cheap or free, right? Like they used to do with the things you should know thing. Remember those, the little things that would pop on, little factoids or something like that.
Yep.
Yeah, run commercials that just very simple that say, look, you know, ever since the Industrial Revolution, the CO2 levels have gone way up. And yes, the percentage is small, but it's the parts per million that you have to be concerned about. That is what's really gone up. You can say, you know, these simple things and hit people with these little ads or something. I think it would be helpful. And that you know, the disinformation is a real problem because not enough people listen to Potholer, who will show you in his videos over and over and over, check your sources. And when the sources themselves, it's probably not a good source.
Yeah.
And we have politicians and a president that will look up somebody's post and they'll say, but it's cited. And they'll say, yeah, but they're citing themselves, right? There was one guy going around. He had a whole bunch of web pages made up, and he would put those in his links as his sources. He owned all those web pages, right? So yeah, you have to check these things just a little bit. And you know what? It's not that hard. Just click on it, copy it, search, put it back into a search. The stuff comes up. It's that easy. We have it that easy to fact check, and folks just won't do it.
Yeah. Yeah, what I mean by the left not being good at it is we keep concentrating on solutions, and solutions are like government programs and basically aid and trying to be inclusive and helping people. What we don't do is we don't have a good enemy to focus on other than the right. Okay, so we can focus on the right as an enemy, but that doesn't work as well as having an enemy like immigrants or science, big science or big pharma or whatever. And so you have to keep playing this card game with trying to provide all these miserable, immature people with an enemy. And if you do, you got their vote. If you focus them on something. And I think that's kind of the rot that's going on here. We're not teaching real critical thinking. We're just teaching emotional, grab your nuts and vote sort of thing. It's just, we're not doing a good job. And we're falling apart as a result of it. We're 50% in danger right now, where people are just not, they're more willing to find an enemy and go after them and hurt them. And
they're saying that
get their jollies doing that.
Yeah, it might be time for some new political parties. It wouldn't be the first time that it's happened, right?
We need a multi-party system. I mean, this is just ridiculous. This right now we're so set against each other that we can't get anything at all done, except for if you have some nut that's not gonna listen to the Constitution at all, and that's called a dictator. Okay, so the only way to break this tie between the right and the left is to elect a dictator and give him power, and that's basically what they've done. And we are kind of fucked right now because of that. But science denial is a big part of it, and it's so easy to do to people to get them mad at the whatever they imagine big science to be doing. And God, have you heard all of the research that's been screwed up by this? Basically, they just getting their mice to research. Basically, the funding has been cut off for things like that. And I know a researcher out in New York, and they are feeling the pinch already, with all of this, these fucking cost-cutting measures, right? Cancer research is stopping in some places because of this.
Well, that's another one of the waste and fraud they're claiming, is that they're giving universities all this money. And it's like, yeah, because a lot of the universities are where the research and stuff is done, right? They leave that part out, right?
Yeah. I'm catching up on the chat here. I think the problem is that truth is the most often kind of boring. Yeah. Making stuff that is more entertaining, and you'll get more people if you can make some shit up. If you come up with a conspiracy, boy.
Yeah, well, that's you can more shit than you can, diamonds.
That's the creationists do. They make people feel good about themselves. Look, I'm smarter than Einstein, right? And it's like, well, good for you, and yeah, they walk around stupid Einstein, stupid Darwin, stupid Stephen Hawking. What a dummy, Yeah,
what a dummy, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, he's all brainwashed, right? I like Hitler. Hitler's pretty cool. I think I'm gonna start calling him Hitler.
Well, whenever the clowns in Donnie Deal's chat or something are saying things, I just say, whatever, man. Biology is being taught in schools today, and it's going to be taught in schools tomorrow. And none of your nonsense has entered academia anywhere. So good luck with that, right? You feel good for yourself. You call the scientists dummies, well, good for you, right? But yeah, you aren't in the textbooks. You aren't in academia. You can do your little things, and you've got your little creationist conferences where a bunch of creationists gather together and pat each other on the back for calling all the scientists dummies. And but they don't contribute anything, right? So
and here's a dictator playbook. So so our friend Mr. Hitler picked the Jews, and our friend Mr. Hitler picked the immigrants, and just got us all going on that.
And, Pol Pot, Pol Pot picked on the educated, and you find a target, say they're to blame.
Yep. And Biden did fuck up, and I don't know why, over immigration. And they made a bunch of mistakes. And there are things that have to be solved, but I don't see it affecting me. Basically how many people came in during the Biden administration, but they didn't do a good job. But Biden tried to get them to pass a bill, and the right put a kibosh on it, so they fucked up too. They could have had the bill earlier, and they could have cleared things up. And the immigration is
but if it doesn't have Trump's signature on it, Trump doesn't want it. So
yep, they don't want it. Pretty crazy. I do have the link out there.
That was one of the first things he did the last time, and this time was everything that had like renaming the mountain because Obama had changed it, back to the native Mount McKinley, and
I don't understand.
He wants to take things away and stick his name on it, right? And I've said before, I have no problem with rich people putting their names on things, right? Bezos Highway with a big sign that says Bezos Highway, beautiful, right? The Elon Bridge, knock yourself out. Brand new bridge put your name all over it, right? But they don't do that.
Yeah.
They used to do that. I mean, we have a lot of places that are named after rich people. We have libraries and different buildings on university grounds where, you want your name on something, put it on something useful, okay?
Yeah, we did that in Minneapolis. They renamed a lake. I don't even remember the name that it used to be. B'nai Makaska was the Native American name for, basically a big lake. Oh, Lake Calhoun. It was called Lake Calhoun. And I think Calhoun was this son of a bitch from the 19th century who killed a bunch of Native Americans and did a bunch of crappy stuff. I'm not sure what he did, but they decided, fuck you, we're not going to call it Lake Calhoun. We're going to call it B'nai Makaska. But I've had a hell of a time remembering that name, unfortunately, because. But the thing is, Trump ain't going to make us change the name of our goddamn lake here in Minneapolis. Liberal Lakes is the name of Minneapolis. It's name.
They renamed the big suspension bridge we have in town after Martin Luther King, which is all great, but I know it as the High Level. I grew up with it as it was called the High Level, and I still say to this day, you use the High Level bridge. Nothing against
it. Takes a while.
Yeah, that they named it. It's just it's how it's stuck in my head is all.
Yeah, takes a while. So anyway. Oh, let's see what else we got here. Oh.
Yeah, but on Joe's thing, though, I wanted to mention, Joe did a good job. Joe says, I'm just a simpleton from Kentucky, and stuff like that, which is good to keep yourself humble. Nothing wrong with that. But he did articulate his points very well in that response video. So good job, Joe.
Yep. So again, I have this little diagram that I draw for basically there's this whole bunch of things that we know as human beings, right? Which I call R1. So R1 is I know that I'm in a room right now. I know that I know what a human being is. I know what you guys are. I know about the internet. I know all these things that tell me about the real world. So it's reality one. So I mean, there's a reality that I can touch with my fingertips, and I can move it around, and I can pick my cup up, I can drink, I can play with my cat, I can do all this stuff, right? And it's the common reality that all human beings develop as organisms, okay? And then outside of that, we have something called R2, which is where science is very methodically taken those things, like taking my cup, ground it up, put it in a spectroscope, figured out what goes into it, what it's made of, what clay consists of. What, we can look at it under electron microscope. So we have all of the science in R2, basically, that explains things around us. And evolution exists in the R2 sphere. So basically, we have evolution here, is our idea about R2. And then outside of that, we have these metaphysical considerations, right? So I call this M1 or Metaphysics 1 for naive metaphysics. And now, okay, I'm this R1 item in here, and I could well be a brain in a vat being fed information through whatever the interface to my brain is, a perfect biological interface to my brain. And somebody could be generating a reality for me. So basically BIV is one of them, brain in a vat. Okay, that's one thing that could explain everything in here, everything in science and whatever. I mean, all of this stuff could be being fed to me by a dude in a flannel shirt in a laboratory on planet Guptanon or something, right? Or it could be a woman in a white frock feeding it to me. So there's another version, right? So now I've created two different versions that could account for reality. Okay. So there's no way inside of R2 and R1 to tell which one is real. Okay. So I've created two versions already. And now I can create a third version that is some kind of alien with reptilian alien, basically, that has created this brain in a vat. Or it could be some other kind of alien, or it could be like an infinite number of variations on brain in a vat. Or it could be some kind of godlike thing that's like humans that basically created this whole universe. We could make up that story, right? Or we could make up a story that it was what is the, I don't know what the other gods are. Zeus did it. All of these things out here in M1 are unevidenced. There's no evidence for them. They're just like ideas or stories that we come up with that could explain what's going on in here. Okay. Another really good explanation is that there's just a goddamn universe, and it has these natural laws, and we're in it. And everything works according to these natural laws, and that's called naturalism. And that exists out here in the M1, basically. But it's a pretty goddamn reasonable idea. And it's a pretty simple idea. It's a simple idea that the universe just is the way science perceives it, and the way I see it in R1. Okay? That's just a real simple idea. So we're naturalists because of that. So if you want to convince me of brain in a vat, you are going to have to give me a reason to believe in it. Otherwise, I'm going to be an brain in a vatist. Okay? If you have no reason if you have no reason for it, you have to give me some evidence.
Right. That's the creationist argument is, well, all they teach in science is materialism or naturalism. And it's like, yeah, because those things can be taught with some kind of explanatory power. So when a student asks a question, you have an answer with explanatory power that they can further, research when they become an adult, if they want to specialize in it. When you say God did it, or supernatural did it, whichever God or being or whatever you want to say did it, that's it. That it doesn't have any explanatory power beyond that, because there's no how it was done, right? It's just magic, right? And when you're using that, your science books become, a lot smaller, right? They become pamphlets,
Yeah.
And then I ask back, well then don't you want to know all the stuff that actually fills these textbooks? Oh yeah, sure. Well, creationist, garbage. No, we love science. And it's like, well, then you can't just then decide, well, we're going to tear this page out and we're going to tear this page out, because you're going to make the book incoherent.
Yeah. Before we welcome Bioscope, I want to make one other point here, that basically this R1 part here, or this R2 part here, okay, is something that we all can agree on. We can all agree on R1. Every single creationist or believer is a naturalist at heart. He feeds himself with his hands, by going to the refrigerator, and does naturalism. And he relies on science in his everyday life to drive his car, use his computer, and whatever. So we all agree on these things, that these things work, that we can figure out why a match lights. We can figure out why sodium and chlorine turn into salt, all that stuff. So we all agree on that. Now, even if we were a brain in a vat, this part here would be our reality. And it would still be just as real as anything else, as any other M1 idea. So it is just as real here. So we are all naturalists at heart. And that's what they will not admit. They do not like to admit that. They want to always go to this M1 stuff. So anyway, we have Simos Funk and we have Biosphere in the room. So Bioscope?
That's Bioscope.
Yeah,
Bioscope.
thank you. Hi, how are you?
Yeah.
Hello, Bioscope. Hello, Simos.
Yeah, so I was. It's my first time. I was just seeing that you guys are presenting some stuff like miracles and creationism, and I was, kind of challenging them on creationism, because they're all the time trying to debunk evolution, whereas they need to give us a replacement, and they need to give us replacement by Adam and Eve story. And when you get into that, the Adam was created from dust, and from Adam rib, which is a somatic cells, and somatic cells cannot change. It's always XY or XX chromosome. So when you are taking out from the nucleus, the chromosome, it still remain a male chromosome. You cannot get a female from that, number one. And number two, you need to have egg in order to get embryo. Without egg, you can't even get male or female. So in this story, there is a flaw. And I'm always asking my atheist friends, let's challenge them instead of, trying to defend evolution. We know evolution is a fact, but creationism is a mythology, like Jesus Christ born without having a X and Y chromosome. So that's what I'm just always, throwing bones. And if sometimes, people, they don't know where the flaws are. Not everybody knows that, but we might have to explore the creationism and show the people where the wrong and where the flaws are.
Yeah, there's so many, but they can always come up with this miracle thing, right? Like like they can always claim a miraculous step, that okay, it's just a miracle that Adam and Eve popped up, and it doesn't matter about chromosomes because God just sketched it in and did whatever, and that's why creationism and intelligent design can never be science, because you could make anything up you want and it works. You can say like, why is my cup here? Oh, miracle made it. There's nothing to counter that. There's no way to work with it, right? So it's not science. So basically,
yes.
But
the problem, there is multiple problems by this story. Number one, like I just said. The number two, it's a low population. only two people, only one pair,
Right.
can give a rise of a huge population, because there will be, because of due to inbreeding, there will be bottleneck effect, and there shouldn't be a large population rise from that.
Well, how in the hell do they explain? I've never been a theist and never understood the Bible. So we have Adam and Eve, okay, and then they have children, okay. They have a child, two dudes, right? I forget what their names are, Cain and Abel. And where do the other children come from? So supposedly Eve had like 40 children or something, right?
There was another land somewhere which opens up where the people say that there was actually more than one creation event. There's different ways to explain it.
Where does it say that in the Bible?
Well, it doesn't say a lot of things.
I had a conversation with
Nod, that's it. Yeah.
I had a conversation with Judaism, the Jew priest, and Christian priest, even though the Muslim priest. What they are saying, their nucleotides, their genome was well stabilized, and it just corrupted because of our sins.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah, I had another thing that, okay, Eve was created with 40,000 eggs. Like a female has about 40,000 eggs. And they created Eve with, each egg had a different genome. So that's where they got the genetic diversity from. I forget, Donnie, Standing for Truth, came up with that idea that, oh yeah, that's what happened. So I mean, there again, miracle, we'll just fill in the details. And when the Bible can't explain something, we'll just make something up. And then we got it, right? So if we had a population of 40,000, it is conceivable, if she had 40,000 different eggs, that the brothers and sisters could have mated without, a whole lot of, with a whole lot of Kentucky coming out of it. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but when we look at that, it's coming from ancient Greek. That's where they adopted that story.
Yeah. Yep.
With a lot of influence from hey old Joe, how you doing?
Old Joe.
Jim Boob was just strolling through here.
Who was?
Filtered out by the YouTube because it showed up in the StreamYard, but not in YouTube.
It showed up for me. Yeah, he showed up in your chat.
Where is he?
Well, I said something about when you tear pages out of a science book that you don't like, and he goes, science literally removes pages or previous pages from the book. That's called falsification, dipshit. And it's like, it's not what I said. I said things they don't like. I didn't say science doesn't change. I said when you're a creationist and you just say, oh, I don't like this page, and you're just randomly tearing them out of a book. Need a Q-tip there, buddy. Get yourself a Q-tip, fix you right up.
Tearing pages out of books is not called falsification. Now, editing a book because it needs to be updated in light of new information, that's legit. But you don't just ignore it and just say stuff because you don't like it.
He dropped his stupid comment and he got himself all moist, so I'm sure he made his afternoon.
Yeah, but why did his comment not show up, guys? That's
YouTube filters out the word dipshit.
Oh, okay.
See the word dipshit there? So YouTube very often will filter stuff like that out.
Okay. So you have to you have to repost Jim Bob with less bullshit. So
could I add something to your picture, please, Mike?
Yeah, you like to add to my picture? Go ahead.
I would. I mean, not literally add it, but just talk about it. Could you put it? There you go. Okay, so the explanation was spot on as far as I'm concerned. Of course, you said you added in the hypothesis which could possibly explain R3 into M1. Obviously, that would be what the theists would call a grounding. and I'm all
Yep.
for doing that, of course. And as you said, there is possibly an infinite. I would say extremely large number. I don't know if there's an infinite, but near
I
as
think
infinite
it's
as you can get.
damn near.
Damn
Yeah,
near, damn near. So
approximately
big it
infinite.
makes no difference, really. And
Yeah,
but one of them, of course, as you correctly said, is the grounding that R3 is just R3. And that's just a representation in the M1 as a description, basically, of R3. And of course, we have many descriptions we use in science and in R3 to describe and give us information about R1. And that's just one hypothesis or one grounding for the best explanation for R3. And
yeah,
that, of course, is the simplest explanation because it has absolutely nothing added at all. There are no extra variables or no extra hypotheses or virtues which need to be added to explain what R3 is, which is
yeah,
obviously some sort of tautology in itself. But that doesn't mean it's false, of course. It just means that that in itself isn't the right argument. However, when we use this falsification process, of course, we can therefore discard many of those infinite number of possible hypotheses to explain R3. And that's really what's going on with the
yeah,
process of using R3 in science in order to falsify an induction, and that's what makes induction so powerful, is because it can explain why a lot of the potential grounding explanations are false. And therefore we shouldn't have credence to believe them. And one thing it can never do is, of course, refute itself, which of course is the representation of R3. And I think that that's the reason why naturalism is at least a plausible, if not the most
yeah,
plausible, explanation for why in R1 we can only see as far as the R3, and that we can't
yeah,
actually get data or give arguments for M1. So I think that it becomes the most reasonable explanation, not necessarily by a long way, that's for sure, and not necessarily as an absolute truth, that's for sure. But
yeah. If you,
there's no need to go beyond R3 necessarily to look for grounding if there is a potential grounding there already. And of course, R3 can't be discounted just like the others can't be falsified. Just like a deist God couldn't be falsified, or something which isn't contradictory, which is just made up as the supernatural, for instance. That would be
so
my
I
kind
would
of
call.
explanation. Go ahead.
Okay, I'm not sure what you're calling R3, but
Well,
I would call
R3, the blue R3. Let me just explain that
okay.
again. Then blue R3 is just a representation in M1 of everything inside the orange circle R3, and it's an exact copy, but it's just a description rather than the
Okay.
prescription that R3 in red
Yeah.
in orange is. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I would call R3 something like physics that were speculative physics that we're coming up with. Like we have speculative physics about multiverses and all sorts of other
I
possibilities,
see.
string theory and all of that stuff. And that's something that we have not confirmed yet. So I mean, there's like an infinite number of those dudes too, right? No, oh God, I don't know why that happened. Stop it! Stop it!
I see. Okay, I slightly
Yeah,
misunderstood the picture then. But I think what
yeah,
I was saying still remains the same. In which case, if R3 is just potential ideas to explain R1, and R1 is
yeah.
the reality which you think you see
Which
around you, the best explanation
yeah,
for
it's
it is an external world.
our common
Dot.
sense. Our common sense
Well,
reality basically is R1, and then
okay.
R2 is where science tears it apart and tries to put everything together. So we have all of science in R2. And then R3 would be speculative physics. It goes above that because that's kind of out
Right.
in M1. But the thing is, now we take like Brain in a Vat, right? So there's Brain in a Vat with the evil scientist who's wearing a flannel shirt, and there's an infinite, almost infinite number of variations on the Brain in the Vat alone. And if you were to try to prove one of them, right, you've got 1 over infinity possibilities. So and the
Sure.
probability of that is 0. So we can't rely on any M1 story or explanation that we come up with because it's always going to have a probability of 0. We need to find evidence in R2 and in R1 in order to support that shit. You know, we need to find a way to falsify it, basically.
I see.
So we have
Orange
to have
is
a way to falsify. Yeah. Yep.
Orange is R2,
Go ahead.
right? Orange is R2.
Yeah, R2
okay.
is all of science, basically. So
Right.
like it's an extent, like science is just an extension of our common sense idea, common sense reality. We all have this. We all have like probably 100 million bits of information that we've accumulated since we were born about reality and how reality works. Like if we turn the cup around, we'll see the other side. We put our hand behind the cup, we can't see our hand. All of that stuff. That's all R1 stuff. And R2 says, okay, we're going to take a space-time coordinate system and we're going to start, you know, doing experiments and figuring out what atoms are and what electrons are and all of that. And R2 is about as far as we can go with evidence. Out here, what is it? The transcendental apologists will try to use some sort of reason to break, you know, to prove their thing, but they always fail because they're just making shit up. You're just making up premises, and you're coming up with some sort of argument for why there has to be a God or whatever. So,
hey, Mike, real quick here. Stop the Stupidity just gifted some memberships on my channel. Thank you very much. Stop the Stupidity. We have.
Does that last every month? So Stop the Stupidity is running about what, 50 memberships so far?
Stop the Stupidity has donated a bunch of memberships. Very much appreciated. We got one to S. Minnow, to Let's Farm, to Bond, to Rick, and to Crook Report. So I see Bond in the chat. Bond,
hello, Bond.
Drop those emojis. And Old Joe, you've got one. John, I see lots of people that have memberships in the chats. Drop those emojis. We've got a bunch of them. And if you're not a member and would like to become a member, drop on that join button down there and join in the fun. We've got lots of great emojis. And thank you again, Stop the Stupidity. You are awesome.
Is Stop the Stupidity our old friend, Stupid Horror Energy?
No, I don't think so.
No? Somebody else? Really?
Stop. I know Stop the Stupidity from being hanging out with Brainless and Slim Cyborg over there. Stop the Stupidity's over there often.
Got a channel?
Nope. No, they're not.
Oh, okay.
It's not Stupid Horror Energy.
Do you have a channel? Stop the Stupidity. Because I've seen you a bit. So we lost our other guest.
Bio said they subscribed, and thank you. Great channel, something like that in your comments there.
Well, thank you for stopping in. That's pretty cool. So anyway, so we got all these things
so
like what is a miracle?
So if I could just, if I could just finish up, then that'd be great. So I misread the orange R3. I thought that was 3, not 2. So the other blue one should be R2, and that's just a grounding or representation of naturalism, saying that everything is real, right? Or just R, I guess, naturalism or real. Obviously, common sense R1 is not the best way to do science, and it certainly isn't the best way to understand the world in terms of truth, maybe in terms of survival, but not truth. R2, I guess you're saying, is the project of science, so things we learn through the scientific method. Is that right?
Yep.
Excellent. And then, so that R2 would be grounded in terms of course, induction and mathematics, presumably, and systematics. So, I mean, I guess those things are going to be the simplest explanations for R2.
We got the trusty ape stopping through too there, Mike.
Oh.
Go ahead, Simon. Sorry.
Hey, howdy.
Right, and so therefore those things are going to be used.
Yeah, so
those things extra are going to be used in all the other types of grounding. And therefore all the other types of grounding including up to in whatever number you like, are going to have those as part of their explanation, which means that the explanation of the grounding of, in terms of mathematics, systematics, and the inductive process is going to be the simplest of all of those groundings. And that's, again, another reason why adding on supernatural does absolutely nothing for your explanation except to make it more complicated.
Yeah,
right? That's all I wanted to finish with.
If you add on supernatural, you've automatically created an infinite number of possibilities, because you can't. I mean, if something just supernaturally happens, there's no cause for it that you know of, right? So you have to keep making things up. You can make up a God cause. You can make up I threw herbs on the fire cause, or whatever. You know, when you go out into the supernatural, you've completely lost your grounding with any of this stuff any of our epistemology, right? Like my epistemology is that I woke up and I found myself in this world. Okay. I don't know how the world got here, but I did find myself in this world. And for 74 years, I've been figuring it out. Go ahead.
No, I mean, that's fairly true. I'm talking about a grounding. So for the idea of grounding reality, and I'm just saying that when you add in the brain in a vat, that's a more complex explanation rather than saying, actually, no, I am a brain in a body and my body is within a reality. That's a simpler explanation, simply because when I go to M1, the metaphysics of trying to explain what is the best explanation, right? Then the explanation that I can use these tools that we've developed in R1, right, which are counterintuitive. So that's an important point. But we can use those tools to at least explain in a much simpler way than trying to give all of this extra ontology, right? So I think M1 is an ontology, not an epistemology. That's where that's where these people keep making the mistake. R2 is the epistemology, and M1 is the ontology, if you like. And we have explanations for why R2 is the way it is, even ontological explanations, which you have to add to if you want to get to gods and supernatural. Right.
Yeah, and
anyway,
here's the ridiculous thing about God is inside of R1, we come to know other people. We know other minds. And I know that you're a person that you could go out in your garage and you could build a table, right? So I'm going to say, oh, there's a Simos-like thing, okay? And it's out here in M1 and it makes all of this. So I'm taking some common sense idea and I'm turning it into my metaphysical explanation. Now contrast that with speculative physics, which takes all kinds of wild geometrical mathematics like superstring theory, differential calculus, and basically comes up with ideas. I mean, that is an idea worth looking at. Whereas this idea that something in my common sense world, like I could say, oh, my cup created the entire universe, therefore everything is cup-like, you know? And it's like, you cannot take some common sense idea for like then what I'm talking about is anthropomorphism, basically the anthropomorphic nature of God. And when people are talking about supernatural, they are always talking about a mind, you know, some idea we have about other minds, that the other mind created something, because I know that you, Simos, are another mind. And I know that you could go out in your garage and build a table out of some sticks. Okay. So obviously, Simos, you could have created the universe, right? You could be God. It's like, it's just so stupid. It's just, it's so inane.
It's one of those infinite possibilities in M1, for sure.
It is.
But it's not a simple explanation. It's just not a very simple explanation, because I have to add on all things to things that we know as people in order to be able to do that. I have to add on unlimited power, virtually unlimited power. I have to add on, a lot of intelligence. I have to add on all sorts of things which we just don't see in people walking around. And it can't be the simplest explanation then, can it?
No.
Right, so
and it's ridiculous to take something from our common sense world and try to explain everything with it.
Yeah, I mean, I flat
That-
out think that transcendental arguments in general, when tried to be applied in this way, are just false. I mean, they're just literally
Yeah,
claims people cannot substantiate by any philosophical virtue or by Occam's razor. They can't be explained that way. So unless you have some better explanation than those two things, right, then I'm not that interested in any of them. Maybe there are some transcendental arguments which can work. Maybe you can give a Platonic maths argument in terms of transcendentals. Not sure.
I don't know.
We will find out eventually, Mike, because I am going to be doing a program on it in the next few months, and you will definitely be invited.
Oh, cool. That'll be
Well,
good.
Yeah.
and my question
Yeah.
is how much time should they spend in the classroom teaching all the possible arguments, possible endless list seemingly of supernatural possibilities? It just doesn't seem there's enough time in the day to be teaching all that stuff when we can be teaching things that we actually know are demonstrable and part of science.
Yeah, and how do we decide between the different supernatural explanations? What criteria can they point to say, well, this makes this particular supernatural explanation better than some other supernatural explanation?
Mhm.
Right? And
The
if they have
Bible.
no criteria for that, then how could we judge between them? In which case, surely there are an infinite number of supernatural arguments or explanations which are equally valid. In which case,
Right.
there's no way to decide between them.
Right.
And that goes back to the number of different gods there are on the planet. That's another reason why we think gods are false.
Yeah, that's all they've got is the Bible. And how do you know the Bible is true? Well, when I was a little boy, I learned about books and how to read. And somebody told me the Bible was true. And it's like, wait a minute, that's your evidence? That's not good enough.
And if you're going to use that, then we can, I think Joe mentioned it, and you can just go, well, Muslims believe the Quran for the same reason, because the Quran says so. So their book must be right. So then you have a problem. Both books can't be right.
Yeah.
Yep.
Among other things. But,
Yeah, a long list of things, right.
I just want to know the criteria by which they judge between them. We had that, of course, last week on Capturing Christianity, where they completely butchered that particular argument.
Yeah.
And couldn't decide, and went, oh, it's a ridiculous argument that atheists give. Yeah, but that's the point. We're doing an argument by ad absurdum. Right? We're showing how stupid that argument is. Right? So of course it's absurd. Right? That's because that's your argument. Right? That's your argument for God. But anyway,
that's why I say, if I can plug Bigfoot and stop the stupidity, Bigfoot is the one true God. There we go. If I can plug Bigfoot back in, and then you're going to say back to me, well, that sounds ridiculous. Well, there you go, right? If I can replace the word for your God or whatever supernatural cause you're claiming with Bigfoot, and it sounds ridiculous, that's how your claim sounds to me. And hopefully, and others do it. I mean, we've got the giraffe and the butterfly and the lobster. There's a bunch of us on YouTube that have our presuppositional beings, the teapot, flying spaghetti monster, on and on, that we can just say, yeah, well, then I can plug this right back into your argument. And if you're going to say it's silly, then just maybe you're getting the hint, right?
Yeah, I mean, you could. There are many ways of doing it. Personally, I like this idea that I heard on a debate once, which was, it's more like a simpler explanation of the supernatural is it only happens inside a mind. Only happens inside minds, right?
Yeah.
So every time they go to a miracle and they go, oh well, Jesus walked on water. Well, that happens outside. That's the supernatural explanation outside of the mind, as well as inside the mind. But I can give a much simpler explanation. Everybody that saw it, right, was hallucinating that supernaturally.
Happened
much simpler
inside the
explanation.
mind.
Yeah, inside the mind. There you go. And so there are no miracles that you can explain in a less complicated way than saying people just thought that, people just imagined that. for whatever supernatural reason you care to add up, because as we know, the supernatural is not a proper explanation. Right? It doesn't have to be well defined. We don't have to say the methodology, the method by which it happened, the mechanics or whatever. And we do know that hallucinations happen. So why not just say it's a supernatural hallucination, that everybody that saw it saw the same thing supernaturally? Now, is that more complex than saying it actually happened in the reality? No, it can't be by definition, because they still had to see it, right? So it's kind of a nonsense thing, really, that when you start getting to miracles, because they're claiming that they're very complex things, right? In order to change and bend the way nature works.
They claim them as historical facts too, and miracles are not historical facts.
So all of my life, I have paid very, very close attention to my own subjective experiences, right? So when I, like my very earliest weird subjective experience was when I was about 4 years old. I went to my grandpa's farm. I walked over to the pig pen, and a man bear pig jumped up on the fence, and it looked like a gorilla pig. Okay. And I saw it, right? And so because I saw that as a little boy, I remembered it. And as I remembered it, I re-remembered it. And it became more and more like a man pig or a man bear pig. And it's very, very solid memory in my mind that I saw this monster in my grandpa's pig pen. Well, my dad told me that my grandpa had boars with tusks and big hairy snouts. And they were just like really big boars. And my grandpa kept some of those. And I'm guessing that is the rational explanation for why a 4-year, because as soon as I saw it, I turned tail and ran to the house and hugged my mom because I thought this fucking thing was going to eat me, right? It was really big. So anyway, but all of my, so then I got into psychedelics in the 60s and the 70s. And I may or may not have recently got into psychedelics again. And I've had a lot of subjective experiences. Now, one experience that I have had twice is an out-of-body experience where I could see myself as if I'm outside of my body. And I had that on a unfortunate, mistaken, very high dose of something called psilocybin. And I saw myself like I wanted to get down on the blanket. And I saw myself move down onto the blanket and then come back up again. And I couldn't tell whether I was actually did it or I imagined it. It was that much of an experience. So, I mean, we do know that under certain drugs and certain, like a good knock on the head, you can see shit. And then later on, when you start remembering, like already, I've taken that experience and I've remembered it to the point where I've made it more real than it probably was when it was happening. Okay. But I got, I got some,
but did you actually
something happened to me.
Yeah. Did you actually leave your body though?
I think if I had, I would have had trouble getting back in. In fact, I would have said, fuck, I ain't getting back in that body. It's old. I wouldn't have gotten back in. No. There's absolutely no evidence that I left my body at all. I mean, I have nothing other than this weird, bizarre experience where I was really. Yeah,
it's real. It can be real to you. And that's one of the things that the argument is when somebody makes a supernatural claim, they'll throw right back, what are you calling them, a liar? I was like, no, I'm not discounting, that they had an experience, because like you just said, you have one, lots of people have them. But yeah, as far as an out of body, did you actually leave your body, or was it just something in your brain?
Or is there a more likely explanation? Okay. So
or mushrooms.
This is your brain.
Often never,
this is
never
your brain.
land.
Okay. This is your brain, and it kind of looks like that. I don't know. It's kind of
is this the egg commercial?
Yeah, it is. So this is your brain. This is your brain on. Yeah.
It's your brain on drugs.
Okay. So in your brain, there's this thin layer of cells. If you took six cards, those business cards, and stacked them up on top of each other, 6 business cards, That's how thick your cortex is, which is where most of the miracle of your mind happens. So it's in this, in this cortical layers around the outside of your brain, right? So there's these layers, and there are 6 of them. Okay, I want to erase this part. We'll get rid of that over there. Okay, so you got 6 layers, basically, starting with layer 1. Okay, and it goes down. Okay, 3. Do I have 3? I have 4. Do I have 6? Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, now I got 6. Okay. So this layer of your brain basically communicates with all sorts of stuff in the center of your brain, like the thalamus. And these layers of your brain are connected. They're highly connected in layer 1, and they are provisionally connected in the other layers to other little columns in your brain. So we have these cortical columns. Okay. No, I'm going somewhere, so bear with me. Okay. So when something happens where basically this set of neurons is stimulated, okay, you will always have, because you grew up and you learn things, you will always have something that you think is going to happen next. Okay. So when you see something, like when you open a door, you're not really seeing what's behind that door right away. What you're seeing is what you think you're going to see. And if it's a room you are familiar with, it basically goes down into your emotional system and says, yeah, okay, that's right. And you feel okay and nothing bad happens. But if there's a man bear pig on the other side of the door and he attacks you, then you're going to like get this crazy oscillation in your brain. And you're going to get this feeling that you're really upset. Like, oh God, that wasn't what I expected. That's called being scared. And what happens is you have sometimes you have an epileptic seizure called laughter. That when something really surprises you and then you realize it's not going to kill you, you'll have this little seizure called laughter. Ha 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 ha. You're having a little seizure when you laugh. But anyway, so what was happening to me in my out-of-body experience is I basically, we all have an image of ourselves in time and space. And we always project ourselves into that time and space. So when we walk across a room, we see ourselves, like we walk across the room to put a book on the table, we see ourselves in our mind's eye, putting that book on the table. Okay. And when you take a really high dose of psilocybin, that gets all fucked up so that you really see it powerfully. And it seems like it was a real thing for a moment. Like you're really seeing yourself in the future, walking and putting the book on the table. And it's all because this is how your cortex is wired. Every single one of these cortical columns goes out and projects to the next thing. And as you get older and older, and as you learn things, you learn what to predict in the future. Like I know that if I reach over and touch this cup, I'm gonna have this feeling of touching the cup. So I've got all these cortical connections that are going to tell me that one set of neurons lighting up, this next set of neurons should light up next. And if it doesn't, I'll have this cognitive dissonance. Does that make sense?
Oh, yeah.
We fucking know from neuroscience what happens with these out-of-body experiences. In particular, there's an area right here called the temporal parietal junction that keeps track of where you are in space. This guy is a little space-time ruler, this temporal lobe. And this area here basically connects with your visual sense, your 2 visual pathways, and they always tell you where you are in time and space. And when you take a great deal of psychedelics, all that shit melts down and it gets weird, it gets real strange. And we know so much about that it is just so obvious that it's all physical. Oh, hang on a second, guys. I have to answer a phone call.
Yeah, and some of those connections are quite astounding in terms of they also follow an evolutionary path. So things like the eyes don't get directly connected to the central nervous system. They go through a kind of a modifier, as we know, sort of a visual cortex, if you like. But something like smell does get connected It's straight to the central nervous system.
Hmm.
And that's really important because, of course, smell is how we keep ourselves alive when we were eating. And many previous evolutions of species before us did exactly the same thing. Right? It's the one way that we can test exactly what's going on in the world directly.
That's what my wife just asked me the other day. She said, "Can you come out in the kitchen and smell? I got a funny smell, you know." So we were out. My son and I were out there, and it's like, no, we didn't pick it up, but yeah, just in case, something frying in the electronics in the refrigerator or something like that. Who knows, right? So yeah, but immediately, you know what I mean? It's like, hey, I think I smelled something, right? Just that quick.
Yeah.
Yeah. The interesting.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. Oh, well, the interesting thing about smell.
Yeah, go ahead, Mike. Go. You go first.
Okay, every other sense that you have is gated through something called the thalamus. It's like a little gate that determines what you're going to focus on and what you're going to be interested in. But smell goes directly into your brain. It's the one sense that goes directly in because we are evolved from smell animals, basically.
Yeah. So, and that makes a lot. That makes a lot of sense in terms of evolution, but not just evolution as well, because there's I've seen some research fairly recently that I've come across it, although it's not new research, which is to say that our moral intuitions are also connected to our smell as well. So the fact that we find something disgusting smell-wise is probably the basis of why we then get repulsed morally by particular actions. They're very, very similar parts of the brain light up when we're feeling those emotions.
Basis of morality.
I know why my wife does it, Ryan. It's because I always tell her, if you think something's wrong, let me know, because it's only going to get worse. I'd rather fix it before it gets worse. So.
The reason wives do that is because their job, if you're sitting comfortably in the chair and you look like you're too happy, they got to find some goddamn thing for you to investigate for them. So anyway, that's why they do it. Just my opinion.
Anyway, so even the way that the brain is wired seems to be support for evolution as well. Just to show that the mind is very physical. Very physical.
Well, and would that indicate that our sense of smell used to be a lot more powerful, and with our other abilities that it just kind of diminished it a little bit? Because like your dog can smell, another dog in heat, on blocks away,
Yeah. Well, to me, it says that mammals, in particular, who rely very, very heavily on smell more than sight. And I guess the lower mammals do, You think about,
Oh, they're always smelling. Yeah, a mouse or whatever. Yeah, they're always smell.
Their eyesight isn't that great. They're usually, I believe, and please Mike correct me if I'm wrong, that we were evolved from creatures that used to roam in the dark. So, hunt in the dark at night.
So I had
sight wouldn't have been nearly as useful as smell.
St. Bernards are trained to smell a man under 20 feet of snow. So basically they really selected them to have an amazing sense of smell. I used to take my St. Bernard for a walk, and that's all he was nose on the ground, pulling on me, to go to the bushes and smell every little thing. And he got all excited. It was like he was watching a movie. It's like, God knows what it's like to be in their brains, to have that smell vision. My son has it too, though.
My dogs show up at the end of my pond video I put up. That's what they're doing, because they have one side of the yard, and then the other side of the yard is where my garden pond and all that stuff is. So it's fenced off. And when I come to the other side, I open the gate, right? And I was out there by the pond doing my little video and everything. And that's what they were doing the whole time, is smelling the whole area, because any bird, squirrel, cat or or anything else that strolled through my backyard, they're nose to the ground the whole time. And I looked, and I even mentioned, it's like, where's the other dog at in the video, y'all? And here he comes running over. He's all happy, and then the first thing he does, he puts his nose right back down into the ground.
Pretty incredible. They have a great sense of hearing too, as well, and hear things far away. I guess they can hear the valves on your car when you're a mile away, and they can tell that you're coming home. They've tested this.
Yeah, there's videos of the dogs. Yeah, they go to the door or the window or whatever, and they're looking right before you pull up, and it's like they can hear you. It's amazing.
Yeah, but the other uncanny thing is this cat Snack. He wakes me up every day at about 2 minutes to 4. I mean, he tries to wake me up at other times, but at 2 minutes to 4, he gets really crazy. It's like, you got to get up, because I always get up at 4. But I look at the clock and it's like, Jesus Christ, you're always right on. How do you know that? How do you know I mean, the sun is rising at different times, but he still wakes me up at 2 minutes to 4. It's like he's got this little alarm clock in his head.
If I'm late with dinner, I've got my dog standing there staring at me. He comes up and he gives me the look, and I go, "What is it?" And and he'll give me the little haroof thing, it's like, what? And you look at the clock. Oh, okay. Either that or he's got to go outside. Yeah, and that's the thing too. See, they hear something out there. You know what I mean? When they get all excited, and I didn't hear it, but they heard something, whether it's a cat or something out there, they hear it and want to go outside. So they do have good hearing, unless they're smelling it.
My sister has a dog named Charlie. She named it after my dad, and I have a sponsee named Charlie, and I have a neighbor named Charlie. I have a dad named Charlie. I had a brother named Charlie. How about that? She named her dog after my dad. I don't know why.
Yeah, I don't think they actually know, though. They just have a sense of timing to get up and go. I mean, they get used to the time of day, etc. And you repeat something at the same time of day, and they will learn that way. But I always remember our dogs used to get up at a certain time, go and stand looking out the front window, waiting for the postman, because the postman was always around half an hour either way, But at the same time, I could always trick the dogs that the postman was coming, right? If I would say, "What are you waiting for? The postman?" and I said that enough times to them for them to go, "Oh yeah, that's the word," right? And so I could always then go, "Oh, post is here," and they'd get up and go absolutely mad without even seeing them. They wouldn't go and look out the window to know. No, they would just go mad, go to the front door and start barking, waiting for the letter to come through,
Yeah, mine get all happy if I look at the clock and I say, "Oh, it's about time for, my son to be home," and I'll say, "Oh, it's about that time," and they're all happy. They're looking at the door, they're looking at the window. Where's he at? Where's he at? Where's he at?
Yeah, there's another theory that they've actually done some experimenting on, is the dissipation of smell, that sort of thing. So that's one of the ideas about how dogs do that. Certainly,
one of the best things
ain't God.
One of the best things is dogs are truly your best friend. I mean, they are so happy to see you. It almost, they know when you just need a little love, and they come up and give you a nudge, and it's like, "Hey, buddy," it's like they truly are man's best friend. I was having a day, when I was dealing with my issues that the last couple of years, and I was just having a really bad day, and I was just seriously bummed, and spending the money for the lawyer and all the garbage that went on, and here come the pup, the new dog we got, and he just come up and he just refused to stop nuzzling me because he knew I just needed a little bit of love.
Yeah,
they are awesome.
We had a quick story. I'll try and make it as quick as I can. We had 2 red setters, and we had the first one, and then when she was getting old, we got the second one, and then the first one passed away, and the second one started getting old, and my brother said to me, "Oh, should we get another dog for to keep this next one young, And I said, "Oh yeah, maybe. I don't know, because we're getting older as a fam, and it's not probably not great." Anyway, my brother ended up getting this cat, which was 6 weeks old, and it was a tiny, tiny little thing, very small, premature cat. And I bought it. He brought it home, and I said, "Oh, right. Well, we need to introduce it to the dog, obviously, because like our dogs have been cat mad. You know, you say cat, and they go out and barking in the garden, trying to scare the cats off. You know." So I said, "Look, we need to introduce it to the dog," and so I took it up there, and this tiny, tiny little kitten, and I held it to my, towards my dog. I let it see it, let him smell it a little bit, held it towards the dog, and my dog started shaking because it really didn't like what I was doing at all. And I put the cat right up to its chest, all right, and the cat just felt the fur and started licking. And as soon as the cat started licking the dog's chest, all right, it was a female dog, and as soon as the cat started licking, the dog looked down, smelled it again, and then started licking the head. Now they were best friends after that, and we used to come home and we'd find the dog on the sofa and the cat like just on it, basically sleeping. All right, and literally the cat would follow the dog around as its mum, and that cat became a dog in its eyes. And it used to go out into the garden, and you could call its name, and it'd come running, right, to see what you wanted, and it started acting like a dog. The downside was it thought it was a dog and started chasing other cats. Right? And this tiny little cat used to terrorize all of the cats up and down the street. And so much so, I was walking back one day, walking down my street, and I looked over at a neighbor's house, right? And in the window was our cat. He was called Danzak. Our cat looking out the front window in pride of place where the other cat that lives there normally sits. All right. And it looked at me, and I looked at it, and I went, Danzak. And he jumped down, came out the window, and followed me down the road back home again. And I found out that the girl across the road thought that the cat was hers because he used to spend so much time eating their cat food.
Yeah.
I mean, terrible. He used to get in terrible fights. So.
I never thought cats and dogs could actually live together. I mean, I grew up with Tom and Jerry cartoons, you know, and here
they get along really well.
Yeah, we've got cats, and now if a cat gets in the yard, it might be in trouble. But in the house, the cat is the boss. I mean, I've got labs. They're pretty big dogs, and my little gato, she'll just give it the paw, like, don't even go there, get away from me, you know. No fear, you know. It's amazing.
We had a Saint Bernard and a half German Shepherd wolf, and we had this cat named Grunt, and Grunt was this big silver cat, and he would control those dogs. And if they wanted to get in and get their food, he'd go and lay by their food, and they'd start whimpering, and they'd come to me. Could you do something? Grunt is by our food. They were so afraid of that cat. It was just unbelievable. Well, what we did is when they were puppies, we always let the cat take a swipe at them. When they would, or when the cats were small, when they were puppies, we'd let the cat take a swipe at them, and from then on, they respected cats. So, but the Saint Bernard we had a little kitten, and the Saint Bernard would go to sleep, and the kitten would go to sleep in the curl of his tail. And then when you come into the room, and Dozer would look at me like, help me, I want to move. I got to go to the bathroom. It's like this cat he wouldn't move as long as that cat was anywhere near him because he was afraid he was going to step on him. So he's pretty cool. That's awesome.
We got Command Cyborg stopping in, and Jill said sunflowers point to where the sun will come up. My wife grows sunflowers, so yeah.
Yeah, they do. There's a reason for that. Some enzymes that do that. Anyway, my son wants to walk me. He's getting the leash.
So
I gotta get out of here.
Glad to hear you're still exercising like a madman.
Yep. So he's going to take me for a walk down the river valley. We'll go see if any trees blew over.
How is your circulation doing these days? Speaking of, Mike.
Pretty good. I'm meeting with my cardiologist to talk about the future because she said I'm going to have a heart attack when I'm 78. And my question to her is, well, can we prevent that? Shouldn't we be worried right now? She said, "Oh no, don't worry about it. They'll give you a stint when you have a heart attack." It's like I kind of don't want to do that. So anyway, other than that, yeah, I'm doing pretty good. The
Good,
heart
good to hear it.
arrhythmia slowed down, and I've been walking a couple miles a day, so doing all right.
Wow, that's impressive.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's impressive.
yeah. I still got the COPD, but if I take the right amount of inhalers, I can live with it. I get to. I mean, if I walk really fast or run, I'll run out of breath right away. But apparently, yeah, I didn't get it as bad as some people have it. So I'm
Katie says they have a mini mule that stands outside the doggy door and plays whack-a-dog.
Whack-a-dog, that's good. Right.
Poke that head out. Come on. That's funny.
Alrighty. Well, thanks for having me on. I've enjoyed it, and look forward to Saturday night, of course, for Saturday night.
Yeah, I'm glad
on your channel.
And I want to thank you for paying attention to my R1, R2, M1 diagram. I put it up about 500 times, and I'm never sure if I'm quite getting the point across. Yeah. But it's a really interesting way. It's a real simple way to look at metaphysical arguments, and it's a real simple way to conclude that most of them are bullshit.
Fair enough. Yeah, fair enough.
I'll either be on tonight or tomorrow night, depending on how I feel. I don't know. Maybe tonight. I got some stuff with the night watch. So if you're up late or in another time zone, you can always catch me at the night watch, and as well as a similar panel of folks that are like is gathered here. We gather every Saturday for Saturday Night at the Atheists at 5 p.m. Eastern.
And if I could just announce another one, I've got a new show or a new series of an old show, State of the Onion, starting on the 1st of May, which is this Thursday, which will be 10 o'clock UK time, which is somewhere around 5 p.m. In some sort of American time, UK 5:30. Please come along. The topic is something: why are we on YouTube, and why is the Great Debate great? So those are the two
awesome.
We'll be covering. Please
Good
come
deal.
down and join. It is an open panel, but of course there may be limited spaces depending on which streaming system I use. But yeah, that's on Thursday, 10 p.m. UK time, which is what did you say that is for you, Dave?
Have you set up?
Yeah, it's about 5 or 6 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
Simons, okay. Have you set up the video yet? Have you set it up?
Yeah, it's on my channel.
Okay, can you post it? Well, okay, I'll go find it.
Oh, no worries. I'll okay, yeah. You do that, and I'll post a join link for you. No worries, or send it to Dave, and then Dave.
Okay, so is it going to be under live upcoming? Upcoming. Okay, here we go. Yeah. I got it.
It should be there.
I got it.
Nice.
I'm good at this shit.
Nice. It'll just be. It's basically a couple of hours of chatting between lots of people.
Drop it on.
Just discussing.
Drop it on mine too, if you could, Mike.
Thank you very much.
Oh,
everybody.
okay.
Thank you.
Okay, where's yours? Yeah. Okay. Thanks for stopping in. Okay, Captive Desk. Where are you? Well, no, I think did it drop it on both? I think it did, didn't it? No, it didn't.
I don't see it.
I don't know why. I put it in my StreamYard thing. It should have dropped it on both.
Don't worry. If I can ask Minnow to
there it is. There it is.
Oh, right. Thank you. You got it.
We've got it.
Yeah. Anyway, so that's the series 3. This one. So you can always go back and see what they're like if you got any ideas. And as I say,
I would like to basically drop in and give you my opinion.
That would be perfect. That would be perfect, Mike.
That'll be 5 p.m. my time. That's Eastern, and this is in just about 48 hours. So 47 hours from now.
Brilliant. Thank you very much, everybody. I'll see you all later. Take care.
Okay, Simon. Cool. Talk to you then.
Yep. So next time maybe we'll talk about this. This is like creationists love to talk about probabilities and DNA sequences and all that, and I have a little science that I'd like to talk about, but I'm not going to do it today. So it'll cost too much. So I got to go. And Scott,
do you do your meeting?
Scott was so
you do your meeting tonight?
Yeah.
I know you will.
I do have a meeting from 7 to 8.
7, 8.
It ends right around 8. So I will be there outside of that time. So 8 p.m. to 9 p.m. your time, I'll be at my meeting.
Well, I might be on
Okay.
later, just so you know. So if you're up,
Okay,
you can
I'll
always
try-
stop by.
Yep, I'll try to watch that. Okay, guys. Okay.
See you
Say
later.
goodbye, Scott.
Bye, Scott.
Bye, Scott.
Bye, Dave.
Goodbye, cool
Thanks
world.
everybody for joining us.
Oh, the world is so cruel. Goodbye. Okay.